Hi everyone. Today, I'm going to take you with me to explore the remarkable history of Yellowstone National Park, a place of extraordinary beauty, scientific importance, and cultural significance. Yellowstone is much more than America's first national park. It is a landscape shaped by powerful geological forces, inhabited by indigenous peoples for thousands of years, and preserved through the efforts of generations who recognized its unique value. Tekla Gabra Michael, Mr. G here, and I'm going to share a story that I witnessed with my two eyes spending at Yellowstone National Park over the summer 2026. The story of Yellowstone begins long before the park was officially established in 1872. Millions of years ago, volcanic activity created the landscape we recognize today. Beneath Yellowstone lies one of the world's largest volcanic systems, often referred as the Yellowstone hotspot. Over hundreds of thousands of years, massive eruptions formed a vast caldera, while later volcanic activity shaped mountains, valleys, rivers, and plateaus. The heat remaining beneath the Earth's surface continues to power more than 10,000 hydrothermal features, including hot springs, mud pots, thermals, and geysers. Approximately half of the world's active geysers are found within Yellowstone, making it one of the most geologically unique places on Earth. However, Yellowstone's history did not begin with geology alone. For at least 11,000 years, indigenous peoples lived, hunted, traveled, and gathered throughout this region. Archaeological evidence shows that tribes such as the Crow, Shoshan, Bannock, Blackfeet, Nez Perce, Kiowa, and many others maintained deep cultural and spiritual connections to Yellowstone. These communities used obsidian from Yellowstone to make sharp tools and weapons. Trade routes across the region, connecting distant tribes throughout North America. The land provided food, medical plants, and sacred places for ceremonies. Today, more than 2 dozens of federally recognized tribes maintain historic ties to Yellowstone, reminding us that this landscape has always been home to people long before it became a national park. European Americans first learned about Yellowstone largely through stories told by indigenous peoples and fur trappers during the early 19th century. Many mountain men described strange places where boiling water erupted from the ground and colorful pools shimmered in the sunlight. Their stories, however, were often dismissed as exaggerations. Reports of fire and brimstone, steaming rivers, and fountains of boiling water sounded too fantastic to be believed. One of the earliest known explorers to enter the Yellowstone region was John Colter, a member of the Lewis and Clark expedition. Around 1807 or 1808, after leaving the expedition, Colter traveled through the area and described steaming landscapes, unlike anything people had ever imagined. His accounts become known as Colter's Tale, but many people doubted his description because they seemed impossible to exist. Throughout the mid-1800s, more explorers gradually confirmed these incredible stories. Small expeditions entered the Yellowstone region, documenting its unusual features. Among the most significant was the Cook, Folsom, Peterson expedition of 1869, followed by the Washburn, Langford, Dane expedition in 1870. Members of these expeditions carefully recorded their observations of Yellowstone's geysers, waterfalls, wildlife, lakes, mountains. One of the expedition's members, Nathaniel Longford, later gave lectures across the country describing Yellowstone's wonders, generating widespread public interest. Perhaps the most influential explorations occurred in 1871, when the Hayden Geological Survey entered Yellowstone under the leadership of geologist Ferdinand V. Hayden. This scientific expedition included photographer William Henry Jackson and artist Thomas Moran. Jackson's photographs became the first clear visual evidence of Yellowstone's extraordinary scenery. Until then, many people still questioned whether such landscapes truly existed. Meanwhile, Moran's dramatic paintings captured the imagination of the American public and members of Congress. Together, the scientific reports, photographs, and artwork convinced lawmakers that Yellowstone was unique than any other places in the nation. On March 1st, 1872, President Ulysses S. Grant signed the Yellowstone National Park Protection Act into law. Yellowstone officially became the first national park in the world. This decision was revolutionary. Instead of allowing private ownership or commercial development, the United States set aside more than 2 million acres of land for the benefit and enjoyment of the people. It established a new idea that certain extraordinary places should be protected forever for everyone. Although Yellowstone became a national park, protecting it proved difficult. During its early years, there was little funding, few employees, and almost no infrastructure. Poachers hunted wildlife freely. Visitors collected rocks and natural features as souvenirs, and vandalism damaged many geothermal formations. Without effective management, Yellowstone struggled to fulfill its mission of preservation. In 1886, the United States Army was assigned to manage Yellowstone. Soldiers established headquarters at Fort Yellowstone near Mammoth Hot Springs. For the next 30 years, the Army enforced regulations, prevented poaching, built roads and bridges, and improved visitor facilities. Their disciplined management helped stabilize wildlife populations and protect many of the park's natural resources. The Army remained in charge until 1918. Shortly after the creation of the National Park Service in 1916, the new agency assumed responsibility for Yellowstone and other national parks, creating a unified system dedicated to conservation, education, and public enjoyment. Wildlife has always been one of Yellowstone's greatest treasures. The park is home to bison, elk, wolves, grizzly bears, black bears, moose, mountain lion, bighorn, sheep, and many other species. Yellowstone's bison held special historical importance. During the late 19th century, bison populations across America declined from tens of millions to only a few hundreds because of widespread hunting. A small herd survived within Yellowstone, becoming the foundation for the largest continuously wild bison population in the United States today. Conservation efforts within the park help prevent the complete extinction of this iconic species. Another important chapter involves wolves. Gray wolves once roamed throughout Yellowstone, but were systematically eliminated by the 1920s through predator control programs. Without wolves, elk populations increased dramatically, leading to heavy browsing of young trees and change in the ecosystem. After decades of scientific research and public debate, wolves were reintroduced into Yellowstone in 1995 and 1996. Their return transformed the ecosystem in remarkable ways. Wolves reduced elk numbers and changed their behavior, allowing willow and aspen trees to recover in many years in areas. This, in return, benefited behavior of the animals, birds, fish, and other wildlife. Yellowstone became one of the world's most famous examples of ecosystem restoration. Tourism has always played a major role in Yellowstone history. In the late 19th century, reaching the park required long journeys by horseback or stagecoach. The arrival of railroads brought increasing numbers of visitors. During the 20th century, automobiles made Yellowstone more accessible than ever before. Roads, campgrounds, lodges, and visitor centers expanded to accommodate millions of annual visitors. Today, Yellowstone welcomes approximately 4 million visitors each year from around the world. People come to witness Old Faithful, one of the world's most famous geysers. Although it's only one of hundreds of geysers within the park, visitors also enjoy the colorful Grand Prismatic Spring, the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone Lake, Lamar Valley, Mammoth Hot Springs, and countless hiking trails and scenic drives. Yellowstone has also become one of the world's most important natural laboratories. Science study geothermal systems, volcanic activity, wildlife biology, ecology, climate change, and conservation management. The park provides valuable information about natural processes that influence ecosystems worldwide. Researchers continuously monitor seismic activity beneath Yellowstone because of its volcanic history. Although the Yellowstone volcano remains active, scientists carefully observe it using sophisticated instruments. Current evidence shows no indication of an imminent catastrophic eruption, despite frequent misconceptions. Yellowstone also faces modern challenges: climate changes, altering snowfall patterns, water availability, wildlife behavior, and species disruptions. Increasing visitation creates pressure on roads, wildlife, and fragile geothermal features. Balancing conservation with public access requires consistent planning, research, and cooperation among scientists, park managers, indigenous communities, local residents, and visitors. The role of indigenous people has also received renowned recognition in recent decades. The National Park Service increasingly collaborates with tribal nations to preserve cultural heritage, protect archaeological sites, interpret indigenous history, and incorporate traditional ecological knowledge into park management. This reflects a broader understanding that Yellowstone's human history extends far beyond its designation as a national park. Today, Yellowstone is recognized internationally as one of Earth's greatest natural features. It became part of the UNESCO World Heritage List in 1978 because of its outstanding geological features, diverse wildlife, and global scientific importance. It is also designed as an international biosphere reserve, highlighting its role in conserving biodiversity and supporting scientific research. Perhaps Yellowstone's greatest legacy is the idea it's inspired. The creation of Yellowstone established the model for national parks around the world. Countries across every continent have since created protected areas based on the principle that exceptional landscapes should be preserved for future generations. Billions of people have experienced Yellowstone's beauty, learned from its ecosystems, and found inspiration in its wild landscapes. Its towering mountains, steaming geysers, ancient forests, rushing rivers, and abundant wildlife remind us of the incredible power and beauty of the natural world. As we reflect on Yellowstone's history, we recognize that its story is still unfolding. Every visitor, scientist, ranger, conservationist, and community member plays a role in protecting this remarkable place. Yellowstone teaches us that conservation is not simply about preserving scenery. It is about safeguarding ecosystems, honoring cultural history, advancing scientific knowledge, and ensuring that future generations inherit the same natural wonders that have inspired humanity for thousands of years.